Well, I had a friend post about my dog now, Shade, and she needed a home. And I just fell in love with her immediately when I saw her, and I'm like, I need this dog. And I was at a point in my life where I was just, a lot was going on. I was sort of broken myself and desperate for a companion. And I'd had a dog with my ex, and I just lost the ex and my dog. And so it was just extra rough, and I asked to meet her and went and met her, and we just bonded immediately. We both were coming from a place where we needed each other, and it's that taboo where, you know, who rescued who. And Mutt Scouts was amazing in dealing with me and her and getting us connected, and ever since then I've been with Mutt Scouts. My first foster experience was another shepherd female. Her name was Sasha. No one really knew what happened to her, but she was definitely from the streets, had never really experienced the beautiful things you can with having a dog in your life. Didn't even understand how to eat or drink water normally. I think she'd been really abused, because when I first brought her home, she wouldn't even leave the corner of my house. Like for a week, she just stayed in that corner and wouldn't move. And I even slowly had to move the end table out, put a few pillows back there to make her more comfortable, and let her kind of come out at her own free time. At the time, I thought that would probably be the most difficult dog I'd have to foster, but it ended up being the easiest. Most of them have experienced some kind of trauma, and you just never know what exactly that means or how that's going to relate to you in your life. And I guess the biggest challenge is having to be adaptable to those situations and how to maneuver around your life and do the best you can for that dog in particular. And the biggest challenge with that is just the frustration of them not knowing any better or doing things like destroying your house. And you want to be upset and mad, but you always have that in the back of your head, like this poor animal has suffered who knows what by who knows who. And that kind of really helps me level out on keeping it together when, my place is sort of in flames. And I have a consistent schedule for the most part. Even when it's a chaotic schedule, it's within the structure that's kind of been set up. And when you throw an unknown variable in there like that, your whole life's kind of in upheaval, and just having to balance that out with what you're doing and maintaining your sanity. That's the biggest challenge. Always maintaining that patience and understanding that just like a human, when something's experienced some kind of trauma or abuse, it takes time to heal from that, and the only thing you can do to counter that is love them and give them some kind of understanding, even in those frustrating moments. And I feel like I have a knack for that because I've been through some of those things. And so I feel like I connect with the animals because I understand where they come from. I know that feeling of abandonment, and it's so important to me that they know that that's not happening anymore. And sometimes that's the hardest thing also, when it does come time for adoption. You almost feel like you're abandoning the animal again, even though you're not. But I do struggle with that quite a bit, because especially if they're super imprinted on you after the fostering experience. I honestly think that the best way to deal with it is to let the emotion happen. It's totally normal to feel that way, and sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves to feel a certain way that counters what we actually feel, because we feel like we shouldn't be feeling that, or, oh, I need to keep it together and this and that. But I'm like, no, I really don't need to. It's okay to be heartbroken and worry about the animal and make sure they're okay, and I don't know. And after going through such an experience with it, of course you're going to be bonded on a level that someone's just not going to quite understand. And like you said, you do go through the hardest part, and it's kind of like your baby then. It's like, this is this project that I worked so hard on, and you're presenting it. And the only way I've felt to deal with it is to make sure and have that last day with them important. Cuddle them, let them know how much you love them and care about them, and that they're going to a good place. And you make sure of that too, that the adoptive family's a good fit, and you're already comfortable with that at that point. And so just that, letting that emotion happen, I guess. Because I'll break down, I cried every time. It's happened every time, but I make sure and do it also before the adoptive parents come, because I don't want them to feel bad, because that happens a lot too when you're fostering. The people who adopt and almost feel bad, like they're taking the animal from you, but I assure them that they're not, and like it is the goal at the whole time it's going on. That's your end goal, and I always keep that in mind. Like, I'm looking for a forever home for you, and until then, you're going to be totally safe and loved. It matters a lot, because you feel good immediately, because by the time they even give you an application to a foster parent, they've already been through a few probably, and didn't even give you the ones that they didn't consider a viable option. So most of the times, the main interested adoptive party that I've gone and met has been the person to adopt. And we've sometimes met a few times, made sure the animal was comfortable with their family, kids, another dog, whatever the case may be. And then I make sure that I'm comfortable with that. And Mutt Scouts is very, very nice and understanding about those moments too, because they foster themselves, everyone in part of that, and they know exactly how difficult it is. And their main goal also was to get the dog in a forever home that's going to be good for them and good for the people, because the last thing we want is another abandonment or someone to, not treat the dog appropriately. And the dog has even more issues then, because, I'm going through this whole cycle, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Like, dogs are a lot smarter than sometimes we give them credit, and they feel things deeply like that, and like, it matters a lot. And all you have to do is look at a picture of a dog that's been abandoned inside a shelter to know that it has a dramatic effect. Depending on the situation, like if the dog's being aggressive or not getting along with my dog, sometimes I'll walk them separately to get them comfortable and to give them each individual attention that they may require. If I have to, I'll crate a dog if I'm having issues during the day, or if they're having bad anxiety when I leave or something, or are very destructive. For a long time, I was so against the crate because I just felt like I'm putting the dog back in a prison or something. But I kept being told that that's not the case. It makes the dog comfortable. All the things that you get told, but that it's so ingrained in me. It's like I would not want to be in a cage, and so like I was so against it for a while. But it is a valuable tool to use, especially for your own sanity when you leave your house. Because there's times I've come back and I can't even the destruction was incredible. I've lost some things. But again, you just got to be patient and learn a lesson. Okay, this was a mistake. I'm not doing this again, and move on from there. Also, like if I had an issue with like potty training, I would take the dog out with my dog and then reiterate, like when my dog would go to the restroom, good girl, oh, good potty, or something like that, so the other dog could see my dog doing that and getting rewarded. And so that's helped out a lot in training dogs to go to the bathroom outside and not in my house. That's a whole another thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm messing up our relationship, because sometimes she likes the dog, sometimes she doesn't, or sometimes she's feeling, because you have to give this new foster dog a lot of love and attention. And sometimes your dog's like, well, what the heck is this? Who is this? Like, what about me? And you're always kind of juggling that, or you don't know sometimes how much is in your head or in the actual reality of the situation. But right now I'm fostering a dog, Rocky, and he was quite aggressive towards my female dog. And I had to keep him separate for a while, and I'd have to go from one room to play with one, then the other room to play with the other, to try and balance it out. So it can be a tough situation, but in the end, it usually works out. And eventually, even when my dog's thrown kind of tantrums and things like that, there's been times where they've ended up becoming great friends and played together, and that's so rewarding when that happens. You're like, oh, thank you. Like, I'm not messing you up. And especially when your dog suffered a lot of trauma already and has had abandonment, you don't want them to think that I'm bringing in all these dogs and then they're sort of, from her perspective, disappearing. I certainly don't want her to think that that could happen to her. So that is something I kind of worry about at times, but everything's always worked out, and for the most part, she's been nothing but good to the other dogs. So that's been good. It's just the most beautiful thing to have a group of people who does what they do for the dogs and the people within the community and connecting them with the dogs. And a lot of dogs they deal with are tragic cases or have had issues or injuries or abandonment or on the kill list at a shelter or something. And they really, really care. And they really care about connecting people with the right dog. Like you said, taking their time, making sure it's going to be a forever home, not some kind of situation where they got in over their heads. They're very honest also. I know a lot of places sometimes want to hide things that may be wrong with the dog or medical things, and I don't agree with that philosophy at all. You need to know, so like you're fully prepared for the situation, and you know then that the people are aware and will handle the situation, because that's only fair to the animal and the people. And Mutt Scouts is so honest and beautiful about that, and everyone that I've met has just been so understanding and helpful. And when you're having an issue with a foster dog or one of the situations you're in, they're always there to help you, or even if they can't even do anything for you, they're at least there to give you reassurance and support emotionally and let you know that you're not alone. And there's just nothing quite like that. And the things they post and the animals they help, it's just you can't help that not touch your heart. And I just so want to be a part of that. And after all they did for me in connecting me with my dog Shade, like I'm just so eternally grateful for that. Like I mean, it's one of those situations where like I just don't even know what I would have done without that connection that they helped me, get. And I love being able to help other people find that also. And then just to give back to the community that gave me so much.